beautiful thing too. Hold up. Yay.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. So we got to talk about Impact from June the 3rd, 2021. Okay, so this episode of Impact was technically 4 hours because the show, well, 3 hours. What the hell am I talking about? 4. I never watch a 4-hour Impact ever. But the show started at 7, essentially, because they had an hour-long Iron Man match that started at 7:06 and ended at 8:10 or whatever. So it bled over into the actual Impact show. And the Iron Man match was Josh Alexander versus TJP for the X Division title. And you know what? This match actually wasn't that bad. You know, I'm not going to say I sat and dedicated an hour to it. I was doing other things. But I didn't miss anything. You know, there were some real cool spots in this match. Some very unique looking spots too, like a brain buster on the ring apron, a surfboard using the ropes. I thought all that stuff was pretty cool. There was also a spot where Josh Alexander got really frustrated and he was going to power drive TJP on the ramp. But then Trey Miguel and Chris Sabin came out there and was like, "No, man, you don't want to do this, man." So during the first, let's say 40 minutes of the match, there was only one pinfall. That was Josh Alexander countering a pinfall on TJP. He scored 1 pinfall. So there was not another pinfall until 4 seconds before the show ended, before the match ended. And then TJP countered a ankle lock into a pin. So it was 1-1. At this point, everybody's around the ring, men and women from every division. They're out there, you know, Swinger's out there taking bets with Hernandez, and Chris Bay's out there being real animated, and the girls are banging on the ring. And it was great. It made it feel like a really big deal. This felt like one of the bigger matches that Impact was trying to put on. And they went into sudden death. And Josh Alexander just won with his finish. You know, the double underhook power driver. I don't know what the hell he calls it. So he won. And it was solid. It was pretty solid. Later in the show, Josh Alexander was getting congratulations from Eddie Edwards. And, you know, Chris Bay and TJP and all these guys, they were like, "Hey, look, you know, hell of a match, hell of a fight." And when Scott D'Amore came over to celebrate, Josh Alexander basically said, like, "Look, man, as long as the world title is tied up with AEW, I'm the top guy here. You know, you want a challenger for any belt. You know, you got any contenders, send them my way. You know, I'm taking it. I am the king of the mountain around here." He kept saying the words, "I'm the king of the mountain." So you know what that means. King of the mountain match. Lord, no. One of the dumbest TNA ideas. A reverse ladder match. Almost as dumb as the reverse battle royal. Everybody has to fight to get in the ring or some stupid shit like that, right? But the Iron Man match was fine. TJP is very, very, very solid as a technician. As a wrestling match, this was fine. So the first real angle of the show was Don Callis trying to talk Moose and Sammy Callahan into fighting each other, which they were going to have a match anyway. But he was talking to the Good Brothers, basically saying that he wanted to get Moose and Callahan to collide, to get one of them to injure the other one. So he went to Sammy Callahan while Sammy Callahan was cutting a promo. And he told Sammy Callahan, "Look, I'm on your side. You know, I know that, you know, a lot of people don't see you as being a big star. You know, you're a bridesmaid, never a bride. You know, I root for the journeymen. I root for the underdogs." And then he go to Moose and say, "You're the best athlete here outside of Kenny Omega, and I'm always going to support the best athletes. You know, I love supporting the best athletes." And both of them, of course, was like, "Nah, we're not interested." But it was an intriguing angle with Don Callis basically trying to hype up, telling each side that, "Hey, you know, I got or whatever." During the match was Sammy Callahan versus Moose, which was the main event of the show. It ended in disqualification because the Good Brothers got involved. Now, the first person they touched was Sammy Callahan. So technically, Sammy Callahan wins by disqualification. Good Brothers and Kenny Omega, they stomped out Sammy Callahan and Moose and cackled the whole while. Then afterwards, Don Callis was confronted by Scott D'Amore, who says that, hey, Sammy Callahan just defeated the #1 contender. And Don Callis was like, huh? What do you mean by that? And of course, Scott D'Amore had to break it down like, look, the #1 contender just lost, because of your boys. I think we should make it a triple threat match or a three-way dance or whatever the fuck they called it, a three-way match. And then Don Callis broke it down and was like, look, Kenny Omega cannot wrestle in any matches that are not first approved by AEW. And AEW is not going to approve having a deathmatch lunatic like Sammy Callahan in the ring with Kenny Omega. It's not going to happen. And then Scott D'Amore was like, hey, interesting thing that you said that, because Tony Khan will be here next week and we'll talk about it. And so Don Callis is pretty upset because now, as usual, Kenny Omega has once again interrupted a match that was going to feature a #1 contender and ended up with himself in a triple threat. And it's like, literally, AEW just did this. Literally, they just did this. How uncreative can you possibly be? How uncreative can you possibly be? But I guess it's a good way of finally getting to the Omega Callahan match, which, I thought maybe he would do the stupid death match or something like that. Maybe with a limited audience or something there, he would do it. But whatever. I don't really care. Rojit Raju was defeated by Jake something in a tables match. I hope that feud is over. I don't like Rojit Raju. Don't like him. So W Morrissey wants to fight Rich Swine, which is intriguing because Rich Swine wanted to fight him too. And Scott D'Amore said, hell yeah, the match is next. So Rich Swine versus W Morrissey. Rich Swine was doing his goofy dancing, foot shuffling, kid and play entrance or whatever the hell, when Morrissey came up like the sea creature from Southpaw Regional Wrestling and beat the dog shit out of Rich Swine and beat the hell out of him. So the match never actually happened. It's, of course, been pushed back to against all odds. But he stomped him out, and then security, a bunch of security guards came out there to try to break it up. Morrissey ended up choking one of the security guys. And then while his back was turned, Willie Mack hit him with a chair. Of course, he's a giant, so he no-sold it. But between Willie Mack and security and all that kind of stuff, he decided to, to back out, and he left. So Willie Mack could help Rich Swine. But I'm not feeling this. This is a waste of W Morrissey. But I'm not sure what else he should be doing, though. Like, that's the thing. Like, there really is no one else on the roster, And I guess they consider Rich Swine to be a top star, so I guess that's what we stuck with. Okay, whatever. So we get the next storyline, which is Tenille Dashwood and Rachel Ellering. Tenille Dashwood goes to Rachel Ellering, and she's talking about how she feels like they were vibing during the 10-man tag or whatever, 10-woman tag. And that, she wants to be a tag team champion, and Rachel Ellering wants to be a tag team champion, and she kind of feels like that should happen. And then Jordan Gray showed up and was like, hey, Rachel, are you ready? And Rachel's like, yep, I'm ready. Because they're about to wrestle for the tag team titles. And then Jordan is like, what are you doing here, Tenille? And Tenille came up with some lie about, oh, yeah, I invited Rachel onto my show next week because she got a stupid talk show. And that was pretty much that. This was very latently homosexual in nature because, it seems like if you wanted to put it into that, view it through that lens, it seems like Tenille was trying to steal Jordan Grace's girlfriend. Like, Rachel Ellering and Jordan Grace are tag team partners already, and Tenille knows that. So she's up, and at that one point, she was brushing her hair and touching her and stuff like that. It was kind of weird. But so I guess that's what they were. I guess that's what they were going for. They was going for like latent homosexuality. Maybe that's just me trying to find some way of making this shit interesting, but who knows? In any event, Jordan Grace and Rachel Ellering were defeated by Fire and Flavor when Tasha Steelz pinned Jordan Grace with a frog splash, again, for like the second or third time. So Rachel Ellering loses one more time because of Jordan Grace. Not a surprise. From there, we get Brian Myers, who had gotten in the face of Sam Beal. He wants to teach Sam Beal how to be a professional. Now, of course, from the way he was talking, it seemed like he might have wanted to fight him, but it went the way that I wanted it to go. It went with Brian Myers trying to mentor Sam Beal, trying to teach him how to be a good professional wrestler. So this week it was all about teaching him his look and teaching him his entrance. So he was talking about, hey, you looked at Sam Beal's body, like, oh, you got a decent build. Your tattoos are a little weird. Made him change his shirt, made him practice his entrance. And then he was like, what are you, Andre the Giant? You didn't even have theme music as he did his entrance or whatever. This is good. I like this. This is Brian Myers being silly. It's him being funny. It's not him trying to be a tough guy. It's him falling into something somewhat a likable space that him and Sam Beal are going to have fun together. Maybe he'll kill him after the fact, but at least for a couple of weeks, we'll see him try to make Sam Beal into a professional wrestler. And the first thing he did was turn Sam Beal into a billboard for himself. So he made Sam Beal get rid of his own shirt and then put on a Brian Myers shirt. Sam Beal being, the young guy, he plays the naive young guy role very well. Where, as they're practicing their entrances, Brian Myers is wearing his mask. And Sam Beal's like, why are you wearing a mask? I thought you had both shots already. And he was like, that's not the point of the mask. So this was fun. It wasn't too long. It was funny, but it wasn't over the top silly. You do have a guy on Brian Myers who has a significant amount of expertise in the wrestling game. Sam Beal is a young guy. He's trying to get in. He's got the goddamn mullet. And, he's gonna make him get rid of his shades. And this is really cool. I enjoyed this. This was good. So, the next thing we got Rosemary. Rosemary celebrates her win over Deonna Purrazzo. Says that she's going to win the Knockout title. Then, Jessica Havoc shows up and says that she wants to be the Knockouts champion. So then Rosemary said, look, if you want to be the Knockouts champion, hell, I was more thinking that you should join us and join Decay. That's what I wanted. But if you want to be the Knockouts champion, you should take this title shot from us. If you can take the title shot from me, then it's yours. And then Havoc, challenge accepted. So Jessica Havoc versus Rosemary is going to happen next week. Deonna Purrazzo then hears about this and says that she beat both of them already and shouldn't have to wrestle either one of them again, which is, of course, a good point. A very good point. But that was pretty much it. So Fire and Flavor, which I forgot about, they went to Scott D'Amore and was basically saying, like, hey, we won our match. Where is our opponents? Where's our competition? We ain't got no competition anymore. And then they find out that Kimberly and Susan have a problem with them. From the 10-person tag match, Susan was touched inappropriately. And now she wants recompense. And that doesn't work out. So at Against All Odds, we're going to have a horrible match of Kimberly and Susan versus Fire and Flavor. That's going to be the shits. I promise thee. It's going to be the shits. We got a vignette from Steve Cutler, who is now going by Steve Macklin. And he looks like he might be doing a Devil Dog type of game, like a military type of game. He was sitting around with his feet up, drinking, I think, bourbon. And, they talked about there being a guy who didn't really get a shot, getting a second chance in Impact. And Steve Cutler is fine. I'm okay with that. I didn't get to see what he could do in WWE. So, yeah, give him a shot. Why not? He's also, I think, married to Deonna Purrazzo. So WWE is putting all these relationships back together by firing people. They're going to put Miro and Lana back together. They put Aleister Black and Selena Vega back together. They put Steve Cutler and Deonna Purrazzo back together. They're repairing relationships by firing spouses. That's good, right? That's good. The fourth match was Dina versus Satoshi Kojima, which, of course, Kojima won with a lariat. Following which, Violent by Design blamed the loss on Eddie Edwards because Eddie Edwards was intimidating people with this kendo stick as they tried to interfere and help Dina. So Eddie Edwards was basically blamed by Eric Young and says, "Hey, we can overlook failure, but we cannot overlook you, Eddie Edwards. So you are a problem. We're going to have to handle you." So then Crazy Steve shows up, and Crazy Steve starts laughing at Dina and saying that Dina is irresponsible, and that Eric Young needs to make Dina responsible. Then Eric Young said, "Look, I trained you better than this. You're disrespectful. You're disrespecting him. You're disrespecting us. You're disrespecting me." And then it all boiled down to Crazy Steve and Black Taurus want a shot at the Impact Tag Team titles, which Eric Young agreed to. So that is Impact for the week. It was bad as usual. It was bad as usual. But at least we got the Iron Man match out of it, which was pretty good. And at least I got the Brian Myers thing is pretty good. And I wish we could have gotten some Johnny Swinger. That would have been good too. But, it's all right. It wasn't as painful to watch this week as it usually is. So thank you guys for listening. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Old non-aggression. Once that lesson sets in, you'll see a session. But you got an affection for no progression, regression. The best.